This is just my problem. Like, with people coming out of Devil Wears Prada 2 were just like, God, I really thought it was just going to be like a snuff film or like fucking Human Centipede Part 4. But it actually was a real movie. And I'm like, yeah, but barely. Like, it was barely a movie. But I do have to... There's part of me that's like, we should acknowledge that this could have been despicably bad. Like, just absolutely empty nothing. I think it's pretty good. Yeah, so
wow, what low praise. What incredibly low praise. Greetings, pals!
Greetings, pals.
Hey, welcome to the podcast Throw on the Pal. My name is Frank.
My name is Tom. Sorry, I remembered your note, Frank. You want me up here?
Up here.
We don't want
and
to
that's
be down
right.
here.
Welcome to the podcast Throw on the Pal. Love it or hate it, we debate
What key is that?
Being,
is that the key?
It being movies.
Key of E?
Give me my badge again. Okay, so what was I saying? We debate movies. Yeah. Today
That's
we're doing...
definitely where you were up to. You were up to the... Yeah. Wait, I'm checking the typical intro we do. Yep, there's the yeah.
Of course, there
Normally
is.
you do the brand sponsorship here as well. So,
of course, sponsored by non-alcoholic Prosecco.
Thanks
Very
to you
good
guys.
Stuff. This is the Backrooms review.
Prosecco,
and I feel like
Prosecco, whoa.
Prosecco.
No alcohol?
Oh, as in O as in zero.
Ah, Prosecco Zero.
Prosecco Zero.
Pussy
So-
Yeko.
We're talking about Backrooms. Tom, you make me feel like we're in the back rooms. And you know, it's actually interesting. We rate films out of 11 on our podcast because we're different. We're unique. Why, Tom? Do you know why?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the director of this film was 11 years old when he made it. So I feel like that's
bad. Really?
Yeah, that's all I got. I'm sick. I'm not feeling like...
I'm not feeling well.
Which, then begs the question, what went wrong with all the other 11s over the last... several years.
700 years.
This is the only one I've ever
years,
offered an excuse for.
You know what? I'd appreciate it. It's about time you offered an excuse.
Yeah.
He
is a young man, came past
He
us.
is very young. The youngest director in history to have a number one film at the box office.
I believe that's true.
I believe that's true as well. I wouldn't lie to you. So yeah, Backrooms, it's rated R. It goes for an hour and 50 minutes. It came out this year, starring Chiwetel Ejiofor, Renata Reinsve, Mark Duplass, who I saw and went, the guy from The Morning Show. He's great.
Okay.
You've seen that. And of course,
No, but I know him from Together, the show that he made a few years ago with Amanda Peet, I want to say. Yeah. He's an interesting guy. Him and his brother Jay Duplass do sort of like indie cinema together.
He writes quite a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah, him and his brother, a lot of sort of stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so also directed by Kane Pixels, not his real name, that's his YouTube handle. Kane Parsons, who you mentioned, is very, very young.
So he did actually make Pixels a few years earlier before making this.
Yeah,
when he
big Adam Sandler
would
guy.
have been legitimately 11, which makes sense. Now I want to give that movie another go, because if you tell me an 11-year-old made it, then I'm like, well, this is not that bad.
Well, this is actually pretty good. Yeah,
This
it's
is
kind of
okay
funny.
then.
Yeah. Adam Sandler's charming in that.
Yeah.
I love Pac-Man.
Wouldn't it, maybe that's a good antidote to any bad movie. As you're watching it, you just go like, well, what if an 11-year-old made this? Now it's kind of charming.
What if this was made by my kid? Oh, I'm so proud.
Now I'm actually like, the camera's on. Like,
they've done their best. I'm so proud.
There's not shit everywhere.
Thomas. Stop.
Go on.
Shout your name if you like this movie.
Tom. Yeah.
Cool, great. That's not surprising.
Fairly predictable, I guess.
I was going to say at the start, welcome to the podcast, throw in the PP, because I PP-ed my pants. I watched this in bed last night by myself.
Arguably the safest environment possible in which
Warm,
to engage
cozy.
with a made-up story. And
Dark
it seems...
room, mirror over there. What's happening in the mirror? I don't know.
You should have taken some mirror precautions beforehand. Clearly.
And I shouldn't have...
Any sort of shapes in there could be anything, you know? It could be...
It could be a giant feather sword man. Feather sword? That's a Wiggles reference.
Captain Feathersword, yeah.
My life is strange.
Yeah.
I didn't like this movie, and I feel like it was pretty undercooked and scary, but also like to what end and to what point.
Yeah.
So I guess if we want to give it some scores...
You go ahead, you give it a score.
4.5.
Okay.
Your turn.
I'd go like a 7, maybe, yeah. Like maybe 7.1. Yeah, like a little...
That's fine.
I actually agree with pretty much everything you just that small assessment of it. I do think it's undercooked. I do think it's scary at times. I do think there are moments in it where I'm like, to what end? What are we doing here? But the extent to which I found it to be a fairly intriguing film and a fairly engaging picture. I couldn't deny that. I saw it in the cinema last week. And yeah, I just thought it was really kind of effective at exploring the liminality of these, storied backrooms, which we'll get into at some stage, I guess, the whole lore behind it.
The internet folklore around
we are
where
not
that came from.
11, so we are not as versed in this as most of my students are when I've talked to them about it, most of whom didn't like the movie because it was not lore heavy enough, which I thought was pretty funny.
That checks out.
But what are you going to do?
Well, what are you going to do? I mean, I agree that it is very compelling because the acting and the emotional weight that they bring to it as a cast, you kind of go, yeah, okay, I'm in it with you because you're so believable and you're so into what you're doing. But then, then what happens? So, for example, that first section where Chiwetel, what's his character's name?
Clyde. Pirate Clyde.
Clark.
Yes.
Clive.
Clark. I started saying words that definitely are not names.
This was us. Imagine, if you will, listener, Thomas and I are on the phone today riffing with jokes. Backrooms, more like Clacktombs.
You should not have opened with jokes because then people are like, okay, you've now set me up to find these things funny that you're about to say to me. And you're right, most of it was garbled nonsense that incidentally
from your end, yours were terrible.
Ill, I'm unwell.
Okay.
I'm undergoing feverish psychosis. You're just in your element when you're going smack rooms, crack dooms, back tunes, just nonsense.
It's basically beat poetry for me. And okay, so the one I've finished on, which I think is my grand finale, is Mad Jack Mushrooms,
which is
it's great. It's truly perfect because that's what this movie feels like. It feels like you're on shrooms. Bless you.
It's a fairly underwhelming shrooms trip for the most. Or not underwhelming. I guess you're right. There is something.
Well, it's a bad trip. If you were having a trip and this is what you experienced, you'd be like, I'm never doing shrooms again.
Yeah, no, I guess you're right. I think I actually am underselling it there. There's a lethargic quality to sort of walking through a place and then just being like, can't remember how to get out of here.
And also everything's melting into the floor, and the lady next to me has 4 sets of eyes.
And everything I'm seeing has, a weird familiar quality to it that seems like almost like it has a ghost of a memory that is imprinted itself here.
A ghost of a memory.
Yeah. Thank you,
Tom's.
It's my album that's coming out. I just toured with Fall Out Boy, and I was like, just throwing some stuff.
So sing us the title track.
Just a memory.
Oh boy. Oh,
I'm so unwell.
He's so unwell. This is great. Okay, so Thomas, you gave it a 7.1.
Yeah.
What do you like about it?
I do think the performances are really good. I think Chiwetel Ejiofor is really game in it.
Yeah, Ejiofor 4 out of 5 stars.
Wow. Yeah, he did.
Yes, go on.
He did. I just realised there's no way to make this work. Well. That's what I wanted to say, but my brain short-circuited and also just kind of went maybe don't say this. My brain kind of got in the way. It's it's okay. It's okay to not say it. Chiwetel Ejiofor is one of those very compelling screen presences. One of those
truly,
guys that always.
Sorry to jump in immediately, but the bit where he goes first into the back rooms. And how long would you say you follow him through? It's silent.
It's a silent movie for about 15 minutes. And that was the moment where I was like, this is quite impressive.
I was into it at that point.
A 20-year-old is making a film. This guy's coming from a YouTube background. He knows that so much of the audience is going to be Zoomers. And not to be... Not to get too into the sort of the ageist discussion of can young people pay attention to movies anymore? Can any of this be interesting? But this movie comes with that baggage of being intriguing based on the weird creepypasta qualities that it has in the
creepypasta. Let's flag that term.
We will. We'll get back to that. But the internet lore stuff. But even so, once that started happening, I guess before he even got into the back rooms, I was like, I'm impressed with how much this movie is like setting the table for everything, and it's not boring and it doesn't feel pointless. And once it got to the back rooms, I was very, very surprised by how like patient it was. I mean, obviously the movie opens with that, you know, purported one shot that's like the camcorder sort of POV thing, and the guy who's...
someone running through the back rooms.
Someone running through the back rooms, presumably one of the people who works with Duplass in the sort of like investigative capacity to try to work out what is the extent of the back rooms and all this. And that section is fairly effective, I think, up to a point. I think my issue with this movie, we'll get to it, but is kind of like when it has to do horror stuff, it becomes quite generic, or it becomes fairly, it goes against the singularity and the strangeness of the back rooms by just seeming to import over certain things that I'm just like, oh, right, well, it's just like a creepy thing. You know, it's just a
creepy thing, and you can't see it, and it's faster than you, and it's going to pull you down that hole, and
stuff.
You'll turn around and it'll be there.
Stuff like that.
But things that I love. Yeah,
things that you're a big fan of.
Very happy.
Walks on the beach, creepy thing following me, mirrors,
terrifying. Dark bedrooms.
Dark bedrooms. That's probably going to be my follow-up to Ghost of a Memory, I think.
I mean, sing us that track if you want to lose your voice again.
No, I'm not going to. No, I listened to the voice. I finally did. It was like, remember how the shoe would tell edge of your 4-bit went? Don't do it.
Don't bother. The listener doesn't need that.
No, we just gained a listenership.
We'll do a bonus track on our Patreon. If we ever launch a Patreon.
People are just like, the 3 people who listen to the pod have just gone online on our Reddit that doesn't exist and been like, Tom actually held back from singing in this one. And suddenly we have like 10 new subscribers. People are like, that's kind of the thing that was keeping me at bay.
Finally. And he apologized for the 11, so this is huge.
Yeah, that's a good point. Growth.
Therapy is going very well.
I'm just ill. That's all it is.
I'm vulnerable.
Yes. Yeah, but She Would Tell Age 4 is really good in it. I think Renata Reinsve is as well, even though I think her character's a bit sort of like underdeveloped.
Well, it's so strange how she becomes the protagonist at the end of the film. Spoiler alert, obviously, for anyone, but like, she becomes the character that is what's Elijah Wood's character, the end girl.
Sure, final girl. It's so funny that Elijah Wood is still your go-to for that, because we watched The Faculty. And how you're just like, well, we all know that trope started with Elijah Wood in that movie in the 90s.
And I'm not wrong.
Before that, they killed everyone.
Tell me I'm wrong. Yes. No, but she becomes the protagonist in this film, which is an interesting flip. I like that.
Yeah, I think the movie does a pretty good job of not being terribly predictable moment to moment as far as like what the characters decide to do, and also not feeling terribly that alarming sort of like parasocial quality of watching someone in a horror movie and being like, why the fuck are you doing this? Like, I believe She Would Tell Age 4's character, sorry, we literally just said it. And
it's just Clark.
My mind is telling me Bark. It is telling me it's Bark. It's insisting that his name is Bark. That Clark, when he goes into it and he starts exploring it, I'm like, I get it. Like, I'd gotten enough out of this guy's sort of dismal, middle-aged sort of crisis of a life that he's having.
Sleeping in the store. He runs a crappy old furniture store. Sleeping
saddest detail that he sleeps in the store, just having a drink, like thinking about the fact that his wife has left him and she got the house. And, you know, I think finding something like that and the added detail that he's an architect. It's like, yes, okay, it's a little bit, you know, one-to-one, but whatever. It's good as an explanation for why he'd
like
be
the fact that he
interested.
started sketching it, you go, well, that makes sense and that tracks, and he's got nothing else to do, and he's kind of obsessed with this store and trying to, you know, he's had the electrical problem, so he's trying to figure it out, and he's a problem solver, right? You'd say. So like and you don't know how long he's been down there mapping it out, and then he goes to Mary, Renata Reinsve's character, for therapy, and he's like, so I've got this map and I'm feeling kind of crazy about it.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, you sound insane. Which is bad therapy, but it's also like,
I don't know if she says you sound insane, right? She says like, have you had a drink, because he has a drinking problem.
Yeah.
And, you know, yes, you're right. There is that subtextual thing of like, you clearly seem to be developing some sort of psychosis. I like how quickly the movie just deals with that with one of the most frustrating things that horror movies can do, and like, you know, even low concept supernatural movies, is characters for an hour having to convince everyone what's going on. And I do like that there's pretty much 20 seconds of him with his employees, the boyfriend and girlfriend who he brings back with them, just being like, I'm going to walk through this wall and then you're going to come with me. And then he does it and they're both like, shit, I guess we're fucking going with it. Like, I guess we're going with
it's
him.
Not like,
and then
no,
they're
it's
in
like,
there.
It's not like he's like, there's a see-through wall and there's this whole... He's like, come with me for
I
research.
was so worried that he was going to put his hand on it and he wasn't going to be able to get through. And there was going to be some reason why, like, the wall had moved. And I was like, please don't do this fucking fake out where he seems crazy.
He looks insane. Yeah. We don't want that. We don't need
it's
that.
just pretty much straight away. They go in with him. And I was like, great.
Should we quickly just run through a quick synopsis?
Yeah, sure.
Would you like to do that?
Well, yeah.
You want me to do that?
It's about Chiwetel Ejiofor's character, Clark, and he is a divorced, or currently getting divorced, alcoholic, furniture salesman, aspiring architect, very miserable, in therapy with Renata Reinsford's character, Mary. And yes, he's sleeping at his own furniture store, which is called like King Solomon's.
Captain Clark's.
Captain Clark's, right?
Captain Clark's Ottoman Emporium.
Yes, they mentioned
which is weird,
how
because Ottoman is a very specific piece of furniture,
like,
but it's like...
But it's also meant to be kind of like Ottoman Empire thing, and I think someone references it at some point. They're like, so are you a pirate, or are you a... Like, what's the deal, man? I really like the fake ad. I think he just gives it his all. That really, like, just almost...
Doing the bad pirate accent.
Manic sort of...
Which I think
come to my store, and he's just like so close to snapping the whole time. I think that's really good. But anyway, he discovers an entry to a place called the Backrooms, which is this sort of inexplicable collection of hallways that all kind of look like weirdly sickly designed like 90s office spaces, or kind of like completely stripped bare yellow kind of gross sort of almost phlegmy wallpaper, occasional like bath houses as well, like weird,
sometimes a bathhouse, sometimes
strange
bedrooms,
little,
but office space based,
and
it kind of looks like what's the show where they have the inside and the outside, and the Ben Stiller show. Ben Stiller directed.
Severance.
Adam Driver.
Yes,
Severance.
you're right.
My God,
Severance.
thank you.
Severance has
similar aesthetic, but that would be the cleaner, more modern.
I would
but
be
it has
very
that
surprised to find that
closed
there's
in.
absolutely no sort of crossover there with like the creators of Severance to have been like, yeah, look, we were aware that there was this kind of aesthetic that was getting traction online. Yes, because you're quite right. A video game like the Stanley Parable, it was very big as well, like back in the 2010s, that is all just about a POV character walking through a seemingly never-ending labyrinth of an office and just trying to work out what the fuck is going on, right? So this sort of thing exists in media predating this, but it is creepy, and it has taken off with young people, I think, because there is something...
The fear of office jobs. Yeah, I get it.
That's truly one sort of like subliminal aspect to it, right? There is that thing of like, imagine being trapped in this day after day. Well, that was our fucking life in the 90s. Like, you know, we show them Office Space, and Ron Livingston's just so mad that they have to like attack a fax machine or whatever they do in that movie.
Yeah, they do.
It's an okay movie. But they, you know, I think that the chilling notion, when you look at the original images, that I think were like old factories or old furniture departments rather, that had just been stripped of all their wares and just seemed weirdly barren and yet sort of prepped for something.
Yeah, like there's obviously walls that jut out to create small, like...
that there is an installation.
Installation space and strange
and it's
divides.
not just white. Like, it's the weird kind of like pale yellow with a...
Piss stained
with fluorescent lighting. And you just imagine like, yeah, I can see how it would be chilling for a young person in the same way that we had, I don't know, Candyman, I guess? Like, was that our equivalent when we were younger? Or whatever, like urban legends or urban myths?
I'm thinking Slender Man, but...
Slender Man was probably
more
just past our generation, right? I think Slender Man came along when I was like 9.
Slender Man scared me online.
Sure, but you were like, what, in your 20s by the time Slender Man came along? I was probably like 19.
30,
right?
Anyway, so continue with the synopsis. So...
Yes, this is the synopsis. Anyway, it's a guy who discovers a Backrooms, and it is a weird place. And that's really it. It's a fairly bare bones premise. It's not a particularly complex movie. I think it's admirable that it's so obviously steeped in this internet age mythology, and yet I could put this on for my parents, and they'd be like, I get it. Like, I think they'd be like, I don't know if they'd like it, But they'd be like, yeah, you don't have to explain any of that to me. Like,
No,
someone
it's all
goes
very,
into...
it's all very simple. It's all very simple.
fucking
It's
Narnia,
very,
or it's, you know...
very vibes based. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, I know what the feeling is.
Yes. Someone's
Yeah, I
found a
don't
weird,
really care,
mysterious place, and there's evil in there. I get it.
Yeah.
And again, to its credit, I don't think it feels too derivative, and it doesn't feel too dependent on, like, you have to have a fucking pamphlet with you and reading it to get what's going on. Even though, again, I think a lot of my students showed up hoping that was the case, that they were going to go in and someone was going to quiz them on the law, and the movie's just kind of like, this needs to be accessible. So, unfortunately...
I want to quickly talk about. So Kane Parsons has spoken about. Obviously, this is based on his YouTube series, The Backrooms, and lots of shorts, lots of different versions.
2021, maybe 2022, I think.
Thank you for doing the research on that. That's really good.
Okay.
But
Sorry.
the law of it all is like he plans to do a second one, Back Tombs, as in two. I was trying to. No, nothing. Okay, so he's going to do. He's planning to do a second one where he'll obviously unpack more of this and explain a lot more, because you get to the end of this film and you're like, okay, but what does any of it mean? What does any of it actually mean? And why are we here? And what's happened? And are we out of it, or are we still in it? And what is happening?
I consider
and I know, like, I don't love just like, here's the movie and it's a vibe and you had a fun time and your adrenaline was racing and blah 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 and good for you. I'm like, no, I do want some answers and I do want to know what's happened, and I don't want the scientist to come in at the end and explain it to me and be like, that's what happened. But I would have liked for Mary or for Clark to have discovered more and to given the audience more about what they figured out. Just a little bit.
Sure. I think of myself as a pretty cynical person, and I was pretty amazed to find that most people, a lot of people don't like the ending to this movie. And it's because they get that what it's doing is setting up a sequel quite nakedly. And I have to admit, I was just in it enough. I wasn't like, this is the greatest movie ever made, but I was compelled by it. I was carried along by it. Mm-hmm. And it got to the end where I was just like, yeah, I like that it was weird, and it didn't really explain any of it. It just kind of went, that was weird. And then everyone online and people I've spoken to have seen it are like, it's so desperately setting up a sequel. I'm like, I guess it is. Like, I guess I didn't really think about that.
I didn't think it was setting up a sequel.
I
was like, I thought it was just been like,
that's what it's
like
doing.
It's not an F you to the audience, but I was like, you're like, you'll never know. And she's got a replica in the back rooms, but maybe she's okay.
Can we talk about that last shot? The last shot of the film is Renata
stunning.
City, and we've seen so many different iterations of the Backrooms that have
they've duplicated a lot. They've copied people, and it's not
people,
gone.
but
it's not a perfect
like
print.
Yes, but also like artifacts of the world above, whether it's like signs for a warehouse sale or whatever, or like something advertising anything, or furniture, obviously. Most repeat, and like things are sinking into the floor and things change in different iterations. And so one of the last things we get is a kind of montage of different rooms, and then we have a shot at the back of her slouched in a chair. And when we got that shot, I went, oh, she's going to look weird. And I was not prepared for how weird she looked when it cut to that final shot of her slumped over, multi-eyed, kind of like weird, lacerated, sort of...
flaky hand.
Yes, like, limbs that had been bisected and kind of like... there's no blood, but there is just a sense of like a separation of her body.
There's a gore to it, and you're like,
yes.
It makes you feel uneasy. It does a really good job of making you feel uneasy.
I loved that shot.
Yes, I love this. I love the shot.
Went out on that, was like, great, good call, really good moment, really good shot. And I'm just surprised to find that so many people were like, boo, didn't explain enough, or boo, clearly setting up a sequel. And I was just kind of like... that little middle ground happy of like, oh, that looked weird, and didn't really think more about it. So like, it's...
Yeah, I mean, I
can
definitely
see
feel
the
like boo
side of it.
Boo, I wish it explained it more, but I didn't think it was going to be a sequel, and then I've obviously done some reading and some research. I'm like, that's definitely their intention.
It's also the most successful A24 movie of all time at this point. Like, it is doing stupid numbers. It's a really good time for... weird Zoomer-led horror at the moment, especially stuff that kind of is inflected by an understanding of how people watch things online and trying to gain their attention and keep them engaged without literally just putting up a fucking, like, I don't know, whatever like the Temple Run games are.
Subway Surfer.
Yes, someone just doing that while trying to
farming.
explain Marxism to you or whatever. Like this movie is like more mannered. It has stylistic intention behind it that's meant to grab you, but it's also kind of like deliberate in its pacing, and it does not whack you over the head. Until it sometimes does, and then I find it a little bit boring, or a little bit like underwhelming. But there are for the most part, I think it's a pretty consistent and a film of like integrity. Watching it,
I mean, absolutely. I think it's so nice. I mean, A24 are good at this. It's like, this is the director's vision. He's a young kid. They knew he had a talent and a concept, and they went, "You got it. Good. Have fun."
Yes.
But I think it's really interesting, like the comparisons and the allegory, if you will, of mental health and also AI in like this stuff, because obviously you could just be like, well, the Backrooms are, his spiral, his mental health spiraling in the way he's just like devolving mentally, sure. And it's also like, hey, like, isn't these things that recreate and like churn out things, and is the Backrooms expanding like the way that AI just expands and just recreates everything? It's like that image of, have you seen the one of where it's like, hey chat, redo this photo of The Rock and don't change a thing, and it does it hundreds of times, and it turns into like Slop and The Simpsons, and you're like, this is terrifying. But that's kind of what the Backrooms is.
Sure, it's a movie about iteration and the idea that like we have recorded so much of the world and everything has been logged and stored that there is always going to be this weird like Ghost in the Machine, the third album that I've got coming out soon, to like everything that we generate within just before even pre-AI, like things that the accidents that would come out of like doing something weird in a media program, right? Or like kind of creating something by accident in recording a sound that kind of gets warped or distorted. And then with AI introduced, it inflects it in this really strange, completely non-anthropogenic way or sort of like human-influenced way. And yet it's mimicking humans in a way that it thinks is flattering and also like appropriate, and most of the time it's like that's horrifying, and you don't get that that's horrifying, and I do think the Backrooms captures that. Some of the stuff just to do with Clark with his found family down there in that whole section, which was very Lynchian. I was like, that's I found some of that a little too self-consciously. Like, I could imagine Kane, if you're sitting next to him, he'd just be like, this is fucking creepy, right? And you're like, it is creepy. You've done well. You've seen Twin Peaks.
It's a little theatre school. It's like, hey, let's do the same scene again, but now there's, we're going to replay the context of it.
Yes. The light. Wait, what do you mean by as in?
Well, they do the scene in therapy where she's like, let's do some role playing.
I see what you're saying.
Like, I'm an actor. And then they do that exact scene again of like, why are you home late? You broke the glass. Sorry, I didn't mean to wake you. That whole section, which I think is great. But like, what I did love about that section is Clark's character when he first finds Mary in the back room. So she's like, Clark, what's going on? And he's like, you're being too loud. And he's just like, he's just off. And you're like, oh, thank goodness Clark's back. We're okay. And then you're like, wait, Clark's being weird. And why is he standing like that? And why does he, like, it was framed different. Like, the perspective of the lens was slightly different. And you're like, something's wrong. And I don't want to see what it is. And then obviously it devolves from there and goes into this scene. And,
the suggestion of there being something close or something within a looming, lurking threat that you don't see is always, I mean, it's a fucking Blair Witch sort of attitude, or it's the Blair Witch ethos. Like, it's always scarier to be like, I'm not fucking going out there because I don't know what's out there, versus seeing it and it being like, I'm a tall pirate, and you're like, well it's a tall pirate. That's very silly. This is the criticism
of the movie. But yes, silly. But then so giant pirate Clark, who's played by Robert Bobrovsky.
Yes, like the
ex-basketball player.
Yeah, like he's
7'7",
meters or something, or maybe even
2.3.
2.3. Jesus, wow.
Yeah, he's enormously tall. So he plays this, basically Captain Clark, the character that he plays in the commercial of Clark.
Yes.
He plays like a giant version of Clark, who's a pirate.
Yes.
But when he's chasing Mary through the end scene and he gets stuck in the wedge of the wall where she's escaping and he's trying to get her, and he's just like, one eye is bulging out and he's reaching and he's like, it's so sad. He's so sad. Why does he look so sad? And is that like playing on Clark's obviously depressed, so then this giant pirate is depressed and is also a monster, but then does the pirate Clark run the Backrooms and is actually in control, or is it just what like
I have
again,
had a student.
what's happened here?
I have had a
Why
student
does this exist?
try and explain to me what the actual guiding
So you became the
force
student.
and entity. I became the student.
Wow.
And I tried to absorb it, and it just turned into like peanut parents just, and I was like, oh right, really crazy, because it's also not to love the kids and it's great working with them, but like at a certain age, I'm.
Sure.
Sounds like it. No, right. At a certain age, it can be difficult for them to articulate efficiently and entertainingly what they want to tell you. And there's that sort of breathless, but then, and you just kind of are like, I lost the trail of this like 3 sentences ago.
You started spinning in circles.
Yes,
You're
and your presumed knowledge of what I already know about this is far too high. Like you've said 5 words I don't recognize, so I'm just gonna dip out. But
Speaking of 5 words we don't recognize, should you talk about creepypasta?
yeah,
just
but
quickly.
real quick before I get into creepypasta,
Sorry.
just the idea of like Clark, I think, is meant to be a representation of an entity that is meant to kind of be the guiding, malevolent force in the Backrooms. But I do think it is an invention for this film that it is just Pirate Clark. There are like even skin. I wish I could remember the name of this. Like people who like skin suits or skin shifters or skin whatever, like which I think is either adjacent to Backrooms or is part of Backrooms, where you might meet someone down there who looks like someone but they're not them. Like just doppelganger shit, really. But yeah, like I guess Clark has manifested this idea of his sort of ineffectual, impotent, emasculated sense as this goofy kind of completely lacking in integrity and lacking in any sort of direction pirate. And so when he goes down there and he encounters it, he's scared of it because of what it represents about him. But he also sort of embraces it because he is a man experiencing arrested development, and he has that line where he says, "She says we don't need to change." So it's kind of like the worst parts of him that he recognizes are a little hopeless and a little regressive, but also he's so resistant to the idea that he should have to be any different to how he is. Again, this is all, I think, a little, we're paying, or, we're both kind of engaging with this idea when you say that the Pirate Clark is so sad and has such pathos, and I'm kind of like spinning these psychobabble notions about it. I think it's all a little bit more than's actually in the movie. I think really watching the movie, you're like, this is a bit silly, right? It's a bit nonsense coded when it gets to all that stuff. But
it could be. It absolutely could
it's
be.
there.
It's like layering on.
Yes, kind of being a little generous with the reading of like, oh, I see what this is saying. Because even if that is all true, the most profound thing out of it is just like, yeah, this guy's like really, this is like an entitled man who is trapped by his own insistence that the world should do what he wants it to do, and that he should get to design it, and he should get to sort of like dictate the rules of it. And it's like, I'm not saying that's not interesting, but it's just kind of like, I don't think there's a lot else there.
And is that why he like then ends up becoming, living in the Backrooms?
Yes,
because it's like he has more control.
He gets to orchestrate it. He gets to, like you say, have that therapy session under his own terms. I really love that therapy scene early in the. It might be my favorite scene, the first therapy session.
The first time they do that,
because I was just like, I am captivated by this in a movie that promised weird, spooky, wallpapered offices, and instead it's just like this 7-minute scene of a really well staged, a really subtly staged by Parsons. Like
so simple, just
really
elegant.
simple. It's not showy at all. There is that scene where he goes to get his employees, and they live in a Tim Burton house from Edward Scissorhands. I'm not sure what's going on with like the color scheme of that whole thing. That's really strange that's the choice, but I get it. It's kind of funny. But yeah, I really enjoy that dynamic. I love Chiwetel Ejiofor's response when she says, "Is it because you never got to be an architect?" And he goes, "I am a fucking architect." And just like that crack in the facade in that moment where he's like, I can't not or be this vulnerable. I can't not be this aggrieved by the way that the world has not done my bidding. And I think he really brings a lot to that. I think Renata Reinsford does as well. I just think her character's not that fleshed out compared to Clark.
Agreed. Yeah, she doesn't get as much to do. And he, I mean, you spoke about it, the voice crack. His voice is so expressive, yet powerful, and yet he has these like voice cracks, and he goes high, but he never. I mean, he's not powerful. He's a really sort of out of control man, but he sounds in control. Like he sounds commanding, and he has this incredible presence.
You're absolutely
and you're like,
right.
How does he?
That is
He contains multitudes. You know, we've said this so many times, but he really does, and he's someone that you're like.
He's almost like if you went inside, it'd be some sort of like labyrinth of hallways that you'd have to like travel down, and there'd be
that's good.
weird
That's
doors
really nice.
and a pirate that.
You can climb through the roof if you want,
absolutely.
but then you get stuck.
Creepypasta. You want to get?
Have
into
you
it?
seen Creepypasta?
No,
Yes,
sorry.
let's
What were you gonna say?
I was going to say, have you seen him in Kinky Boots as Lola?
I've never seen. Oh, yes, I have actually. He's very good in that. Obviously, a lot of people know him from 12 Years a Slave, which he's wonderful in. Solomon Northup.
He's great in Love Actually.
He
Even.
really is legitimately quite good in Love Actually. Like, and we forget that he's English.
And Doctor Strange.
I think
good
he's
in
good
Doctor
Strange, and he does an impeccable American accent. He just really nails.
I think he is American, isn't he?
No, he's English. 3, 2, 1.
kidding.
What's the bit? What's the bit here?
The bit is his American accent is great, and I would happily believe that he is American. I know he's English because he's in Love Actually.
Yes.
No one American allowed is in their film
Except for January Jones and
Eliza Cuthbert.
Yes.
And the girl from American Pie, Molly Elizabeth? Molly Shannon.
Molly Shannon.
Molly Shannon.
Shannon
It's not
Elizabeth.
Molly Shannon.
Shannon Elizabeth.
Shannon Elizabeth.
Molly
There you
Shannon. Different.
Molly Shannon.
Your favourite part of the movie. You can't wait to go to England and see if the same thing's going to happen to you. Which is going to be the reverse. Well, not even the reverse, just like a weird permutation of an Australian going to England and then you walking into a pub and being like,
And they just think I'm a trash
G'day. They're like, you sound like you're from Australia, you is. And then,
Okay. What is this?
I've been reading your dream journal, so I know
Okay,
that.
good. I was like, how'd you know so much about
the
me
Love
and my soul?
Actually, but different? Question
But
mark.
different, but less funny and less charming.
Creepypasta. Butler's Pantry, I
Creepypasta.
guess.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
The butler in a pantry with a mic.
Creepypasta.
The butler's pantry.
I mean, creepypasta is just like a catch-all term that's been used for a long time just to be like weird lore, myths, and strange apocryphal tales that find their way around the internet. You know, it's obviously accelerated by 4chan and Reddit and any sort of like message boards that can...
But it's off the back of copypasta, right?
Correct.
Which is just
Sorry,
like,
yes.
yes.
You're right. I should have
Give
mentioned that.
people actual
You're right.
context.
Copypasta
Thomas,
just
come
being
on.
like a template for something that someone would take and be like, oh, this is a funny joke, or this is a funny, like, you know, I'm trying to think of the guy, Shane Dawson. Is he the one who did the... I've never, he had the tweet where he was like, just to clarify, I've never had sex with my cat. I've never once done that. And people would like take that and insert different words into it for whatever reason, right? Like just funny stuff like that. Whereas creepypasta, became the obviously more unsettling, insidious version of it. Slender Man's a great example of it. You know, stories that people would hear about. I guess like one version of it is kind of like the guy who, took acid and thinks he's a glass of orange juice, right? Like that's less horror based, but it's just kind of like these weird stories.
What is that story?
It's a story that like I remember getting told when I was in Lonnie when I was 17. Like, man, you know, you should stay away from acid because this one guy thinks he's a glass of orange juice. And I went to university in Wagga Wagga and I met like 10 completely different people who were like, I heard that too. And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. This is just one of those stories that
it's
floats
the
around.
internet, how it spread before it became.
Yes. Bloody Mary
internet
is an example, but Bloody Mary's been around for forever and then it takes on different permutations. Candyman was always a big one for me. I always remembered, like, don't say Candyman in the mirror. Excuse me. So
Yeah, because you get too much candy for free.
You know what they say about the Candyman. He can.
He's very sweet, is what I was going to say.
Who can make a sunshine? Give it...
The Candyman can. Okay, so this is a creepypasta based thing.
You singing like you got put in a gramophone. It was pretty good.
Do you have anything else for the pantry in terms of like Mr. Pixels or?
Well, I wanted to get into the idea of not just the creepypasta and the way that like this is a movie quite distinctly inflected by online culture, but it's like a young guy making a movie for a new generation, right? Like he's he's going to be a very prominent director just off the back of this. You know, he's going to be very successful, I think. He's obviously got some like, I don't mean to be patronizing about this. I don't know the behind the scenes stuff, but like he's got some good guiding hands on this. He's got like Mark Duplass produced it. Sean Levy, fucking all right, produced it, great. Osgood Perkins of Long Legs, which is funny because I got out of the movie, I went to see it with some friends, and I came out and I was like, that's like good Long Legs. Like, that's my take on that movie. Like Long Legs is a very self-serious, very overwrought, not a terrible movie, but just really, really mired in its own, like, this is like a Fincherian psychological horror that's going to give us this iconic Nicolas Cage performance, and people are going to talk about this for years. And you watch it, and you're this is kind of dumb, right?
This is kind of dumb. So this feels like, you know, if we reference it in theatre school terms, like, this feels like first year theatre, where you're like, I'm talented and I'm having a lot of fun, but I'm still like loose and silly. Whereas maybe Long Legs is like third year and you're about to graduate and you're like, I've learnt a lot.
Oh no,
mine's very serious.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, okay, yeah, sorry, I see where you're going with that. Like by the third year, it actually becomes worse because it's like now you've become too pretentious.
You get so indulgent.
I know what you mean. I could almost even see it going the other way as well, where it's like a first year film student who's like, these are my influences, and we're like, you know, I get it. And then a third year film student who's like, I kind of created my own vibe, and yes, I clearly obviously have things I'm drawing from, but this is what I did. And yeah, if this were a student film, you'd be blown away by it. Like, this is incredibly, not just for the performances, obviously, but like even if there were different actors in it who were not renowned, you'd be like, this is incredibly accomplished, right? Now, obviously, it cost a lot of money, so like that's a big part of the reason. But
it looks great, and it's got a good crew and everything around him.
It's got good sound design. It's very successful, sort of in its editing and whatnot. The other thing I guess I wanted to draw it to is like the obvious comparison that people are talking about right now, which is Obsession. Which is Curry Barker movie. Another very young man, like he's 26, I think.
Also started on YouTube.
Crazy,
so cool to see.
Very much like the Filippo brothers with Talk to Me and Bring Her Back. You know, people who are engaging in sort of the practice of spooky and very, very sort of like assured directorial mischief that they know is going to get people getting like, you know, a visceral response because they know how to like set something with their sense of craft and their sense of like tension. And it's, you know, I read a New Yorker piece about like what's going on with Curry Barker and Kane Parsons at the moment. And I think it mentioned in there like a Jordan Peele quote, which is the difference between horror and comedy is music. And it's like, it's very observant and it's very true. This idea that like these guys are very good at just sort of like setting the dial enough where with the wrong choice and with the wrong sort of like tone or valence, it would suddenly become like, oh, this is stupid, which I would argue Pirate Clark does. But with the right sort of hand and the right assurance of it, it's quite effective, right? And Obsession is doing a lot right now. Obsession cost like $7 to make, and it's insane how successful it is. But they're both movies that are dealing with traditional forms of you find a spooky room or a spooky area no one else knows about, and then you get trapped in it, or you make a wish and you regret it. Right? Very, very sort of like time-worn
sweeping
narratives.
terms. We've seen it, in horror many times. Yes,
but
absolutely,
very effective, and it's interesting just to see those movies come together at the same time. I think Obsession's a better movie, but not by like huge degrees. I just think it's
really. I've heard mixed reviews.
I really think Obsession is quite successful and heralds a performance by, I can't remember the actress's name, but she plays the character Nikki, that is just astoundingly good.
She's the girl who gets obsessed.
She is indeed. But not to say that like this film doesn't have its strengths, and largely I do think it's a strong film. I just wish those elements of it I mean, we haven't really even talked about this part, but the employees of Clark's going down and the guy with the camera, that whole sequence kind of works, and at the same time the more it becomes just about there's something chasing me, it just doesn't really. It kind of falls a little flat.
That's the most like generic horror bit where he gets pulled down. Obviously, he's got the rope attached, and he's like, "What kind of knot is this?" And you're like, "Oh, of course they can't get that." Like, why didn't they bring a knife? They brought all these supplies. Wouldn't they just bring a knife to cut the rope? He gets pulled down, and then you see his like arm get dragged through that weird trapdoor, and then Kat, the girlfriend, chases him, and she's just screaming. But then it then goes into Clark's character trying to find them, chasing them around the back rooms, getting drastically lost, but then talking to Kat through a wall where she can see him, but he can't see her.
It's a creepy moment. That's like where
Really
she's like,
creepy
"How
moment.
can you not see me?" And you're like, that would be incredibly unsettling. Like knowing that a person can't is right on the other side of something and has no eyes on you. That's I think that's an effective moment. But it's the time in the movie where I started going like, oh, I'm really not going to be into a lot of someone runs from a weird, mysterious, evil figure. And
At this point, like I found it much creepier because you were like, what is the creature? And again, like the thing you can imagine is always going to be scarier than the thing you see.
Definitely.
Which
and what we
which
see
is why
is
I kind of
silly.
but I kind of like the silly creature because if you're trying too hard to be a scary creature, you're never going to hit the mark. It's like Up, where we're like the alien is this weird like
Oh god,
UFO thing. Nope.
I was like,
Us.
Up.
Don't look us. Don't look
don't
up.
look us. Get out.
Don't look us. Get away from me. Where like the alien becomes this big, silly
Jean jacket.
squid. Yeah, and you're like,
I agree. I'm
okay.
I'm
like,
always a little flabbergasted by the love for that whole movie when I think it's a really strong film, and when it gets to that section, I'm just like, oh, this is kind of silly. I don't think this looks very good.
With almost every horror movie,
people
you
seem
kinda
to
like-
love that, so we're in the minority there. But like,
what about like? I mean, Blair Witch Project. I've never seen because as if I'm ever going to watch that.
Jesus
fucking
Christ, there's
movie.
not enough liquid in the world for the amount of piss. You would just like be a desiccated husk
Just
by
be
the end of that
leaking
movie.
out of
Truly, you would find
I'm that
new
nostril.
holes to piss out of watching that movie. That film is...
They never show the witch, right? Like that's not.
Yeah. That movie's great.
I feel like I have to watch it. I feel like I have to psych myself up.
That it's like we spent so much time in the 60s and 70s building up this idea of like an ultimate creepy thing. Like, you know, Mike Myers in, Randy Baby. Yeah. You know, do I make you... I love gold!
Do I make you scared, baby?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mike Myers in Halloween. Freddy Krueger. And now these characters... of course, aren't that scary. They're silly.
But even Ghostface in Scream, which is kind of like, hey, I'm scary. And
yes,
you're like,
ironically scary, and then does shit where you're like, oh, wow, that's actually kind of fucked up. I mean, I agree that maybe one of the last hugely influential figures in horror that you're like, God, that should be silly, but it's actually really upsetting, is the Babadook. The Babadook is a very singular design. You would not like that movie. That movie.
Fair. That's absolutely
rules.
fair. Yeah.
Jennifer Kent. Oh, good Australian film. But yeah, like,
Yeah.
this is again, I think, I know what you're saying, that like Pirate Clark is so silly that maybe we're just meant to go like, yeah, okay, so I'm not meant to take this so seriously, but I think the one shot of it that I actually felt a visceral sort of tug was when he lifts Clark up and you just see its eye over his shoulder and you can't see the full shot of it. And I was like, oh, if we're only going to get a little bit of this and it's largely going to be obscured, that's really terrifying. Mm-hmm. And then we just got so much full frontal of this
Full light.
9-foot tall pirate just going,
Lumbering around.
shiver me timbers. Like, no.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't.
Coming by my Ottomans. lad.
Yes. I couldn't get around any of that.
Yeah, that's fair. It's not scary, and maybe that's why I like it, to be fair.
Sure,
It's a
it
little like,
lightens it
hey, bit of relief.
I haven't heard
because
a lot of what you really disliked about this movie. If I'm being honest.
I just felt really dissatisfied. I just felt like I was scared, and then it felt like half a film. This is the thing. I think technically it's great. I think the performances are good. I like the concept, but I just felt really dissatisfied by the end.
I can actually see that. I see that it kind of, in retrospect, you think back on it, you're like, it's not a fully coherent thing. It doesn't.
And like you said, like it's a pretty quiet film. There's not a lot of dialogue. There's not a lot of exposition, which is good, but it's also like there's not a lot of plot or story. You know,
Yeah.
he goes in, and then he brings his friends in. They get killed, and then he's in there, and then his therapist comes in to try and help him, and that's it, right? And then he dies, and spoiler alert, and then she gets out. But does she get out? The end. And you're like, oh, what? Okay.
Yeah, you're right. It's bare bones, as we'll say, but like, it doesn't quite find unity. It doesn't. I don't think it fully becomes a satisfying film in all of its like story and its characterization themes. Even those stretches of it are very, very. I think remarkable. It's hard not to say for his age, remarkably well made. Yeah. But even just in general, just like a film. But
a couple of things that you're like, it's there's layering in of so much story. The ex-wife, the other furniture shop salesman who's like his nemesis, who's mentioned in one scene. You're like, what? He's like piece of shit or whatever.
Oh,
like,
I'd forgotten about that.
What's that played into? I want to hear more about that. About Mary's childhood and Mary's mother.
That stuff is like, very long legs.
You want to unpack
very kind of like, you needed to have a reason why she has her own trauma and burdens. Yeah. But again, I'm just like, there's not really a lot there.
There's not, but could there be? There should be, I think. But Mark Duplass, it's like, why is he this role where he has 8 lines? It's like, he's very successful. And to see him there, you kind of go, he's going to give us more. And maybe that's the director going like, haha, you want more. No.
Getting off on being like, withholding.
Good Arrested Development reference.
Well, I mean, Clark, good. Arrested Development. Tell you what, hey, that's the name of the show. Maybe if they'd finished with more development of the Backrooms.
Yeah.
I would have had time to have a rest.
Yes. Okay. So I just wanted more, and I'm just like, okay, I guess I'll watch the sequel then, and that's fine.
Hey, I guess I'm a little bummed at the idea that like, inevitably there will be a sequel, and this very much doesn't need one. I really liked the Duplass stuff when he came out, and he's just like, hi, my name's Phil, and I am the banality of evil, and obviously we're gonna have you killed, but I'm just gonna kind of be nice to you for a little bit. I'm just like, I like this energy.
See, that's not at all how I read it.
I did get like he had that kind of quiet sympathy for her, but I did just like that he is being very perfunctorily sort of like, I'm going to talk to you like a subject who I can learn something from, and I'm very aware that I might never see you again after this, and whatever happens to you is above my pay grade. And I did like that energy. Even his just weary like, where she's like, what's gonna can I go? And he's like, I don't know.
Not my decision.
I don't know. And again, I'm like, I kind of like this. I kind of like this energy, and I like how much it just sort of goes. Who knows, right? Like,
that is kind of cool when you put it like that. You're like, there's so much for the brain to just like play with, and that's fun. Yeah. Okay, we should quickly move on to MVP.
MVP.
Great. On the low end there, gave you a low.
I'm gonna go real shock horror. I'm gonna go Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Ejiofor.
What did I say? Ejiofor.
It's like, what have you got that edge for? Ejiofor. Yeah.
Great.
You know that common sentence that everyone
6 feet from the Ejiofor, big girl. Yeah, he's easily the my favorite performance in this.
Yeah,
easily.
I think it kind of.
But of course he is.
I think you're right. I mean, I think obviously Kane Parsons does a remarkably assured job with it, but like.
Are you going to go? Oh,
no, I think I'm going to go Chiwetel. I think you're right because he carries and really like, gives so much of his quiet, weirdly erratic, and yet, as you say, I think the way you described him earlier was perfect, which is he's commanding, but in a way that suggests a well of pain and vulnerability that is not admirable. He's not commanding in a way where you find him to be aspirational. He's commanding in a way that you're like, I need to keep eyes on that person at all times because I don't want them to get too close, right? And like,
he has a lot of energy. There's things that could happen with him around.
Yeah. And I think watching him walk around the back, I think the scene in therapy and him walking around the back rooms the first time are the two best scenes in the movie. And it is just because like, look at this fucking guy. Like, look at
this is the one thing. It's like you said about like horror movies, and you're like, why do people do? That's the one scene where I was like, why does he keep walking further in? Like, he's obviously feeling uncomfortable. He's obviously unsure about the back rooms, but he just keeps going through it. And you're like, dude, walk back, walk out, get out of there.
I love that he's at that point where he's just like, fuck it, right? Like, and it feels.
Is he drunk? Like, how many drinks has he had that night? You know, like,
I think he's a little aimless, and I think it does reflect that sort of like circuitous path that he's walking through. Oh yeah, the thing we didn't talk about is the cardboard cutout thing that's saying in a bunch of different languages.
Yeah,
you know, hello.
Isn't that from It's from Star Trek, right? Isn't that the audio's from Star Trek?
Oh, is it? Is that what that is?
I think so.
I'm
not a massive nerd.
Okay, well, just a minor one by knowing that it's probably from that.
Major nerd, minor third. That's a little music. That's the name of my album.
Major look, minor chook.
Okay, well, should we throw anything in? Are you going to throw anything in?
No, I reckon I'm still floating around a 7. I guess, like, I said 7 and then, like, 7.1, and now I'm like, I don't know, cheeky little, maybe, like, even a 7.2. Like, I think a really interesting, really made me stressing. I think it's a quite interesting movie.
Yeah.
And I don't like judging movies by this metric, because by this metric, we should all give Devil Wears Prada 2 a fucking 10 out of 10 for not like literally just showing Meryl Streep with diarrhea for the whole movie, because everyone was like, I thought it was going to be terrible, but it was actually okay. And I'm like, you can't just say, well, this movie, this is just my problem. Like, with people coming out of Devil Wears Prada 2 were just like, God, I really thought it was just going to be like a snuff film or like fucking Human Centipede Part 4, but it actually was a real movie. And I'm like, yeah, but barely. Like, it was barely a movie. But I do have to, there's part of me that's like, we should acknowledge that this could have been despicably bad. Like, just absolutely empty nothing. I think it's pretty good. Yeah, so that's...
Wow, what low praise. What incredibly low praise. After, like, quite an enjoyable
better
episode.
Than Devil Wears Prada 2.
At least it wasn't a snuff film, you know? So that's good. I'm gonna go up to a 5.6. Hey. I feel
you got into
reminiscing,
just
like
kind of liking it.
I kind of liked it. Yeah. I wanted more, and you know, we'll never get it.
We'll never get it all, but we're gonna regret it. Sure, tell Edgy you're 4.
That was good.
Thank you.
That was really good.
It's fun putting a name of how many? Sure, tell Edgy you're 4. 7 syllables. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It's impressive.
Arnold Schwarzenegger doesn't have 7 syllables. This guy's out syllabalizing Schwarzenegger.
Syllabalizing?
Yeah, he's syllabalistically slamming Schwarzenegger. Who else do we have
you just
there?
syllabalistically slammed. That was impressive.
Thank you.
You should do a freestyle rap.
Ooh. Sure, tell Edgy you're 4. What's it for?
Yes, okay, so thank you for listening, and...
Throw in the pal!
That was Throw in the Pal, our episode on Backrooms. My name is Frank.
My name is Tom.
And thank you so much for listening. Please give us a DM at throwinthepal or throwinthepal@gmail.com. Send us an email, like, subscribe, all of those things. Gosh, we're just so appreciative that you're here. Leave a comment or something.
Sure, tell Edgy you're 4.
Throw in the pal!